She ran a billion-dollar fund, she committed crimes on his orders, and when it all fell apart, he leaked her private diary to the press, then laughed at her in open court while she testified against him in front of the entire world. That's not a breakup. That's not just betrayal. That's the calculated destruction of a human being. And he did it using something most people would never think to weaponize: her own values. Claire was not naive. She graduated from one of the most competitive universities in the country. She understood risk better than most people twice her age. She thought in numbers. She was careful, precise, and sharper than almost everyone in the room. She met Ethan at a trading firm in New York. He was unusual: messy hair, old clothes. He didn't talk like other finance people. He talked about purpose. He talked about a philosophy he called the greater good, the idea that the smartest use of making money was to give it all away, save lives, fix the world. He called it doing good through doing well. Claire found that compelling. She had always wanted her work to mean something beyond a paycheck. He offered her a spot at his new crypto exchange. The deal was simple: build something massive, generate enormous wealth, and donate it to the most effective charities in the world. He made it sound inevitable, like math with a moral attached. She said yes. What she didn't catch, what almost no one caught, was the quiet condition buried inside that philosophy. It said, normal ethical rules don't apply if the outcome is great enough. Lying, hiding risk, bending the truth, all of it could be justified if the mission was big enough. When Ethan said it, it sounded like bold, contrarian thinking. It would feel very different 3 years later. Their relationship turned romantic. He was her employer, her ideological guide, and her emotional anchor, all at once. When he was warm, everything felt possible. When he pulled back, which was often, she worked harder to return to where they had been. She told herself, brilliant people are complicated, demanding, worth it. She was already inside the trap. She just couldn't see the walls yet. The company exploded. At its peak, it was worth over $30 billion. Ethan became famous. Magazine profiles, Senate hearings, celebrity friendships. He was the public face of responsible crypto. The guy in Washington reassuring everyone that he was the adult in the room. Behind that face, Claire was running the numbers. Ethan made her the chief executive of his secondary trading fund, a firm operating alongside the main exchange. She told him she wasn't sure she was the right choice. He gave her the job anyway. She would understand why much later. Because her name on those documents was the whole point. Under his direction, she altered financial reports. She hid debts. She signed paperwork that concealed the transfer of billions in customer deposits into their fund, money spent on investments, political donations, and real estate, all unauthorized, all illegal. She didn't want to do it. He explained why they had to: the greater good, the mission. The math said this was the right move. And after years of being trained to trust his framework over her own gut, she complied. This is what ideological control looks like. It doesn't arrive with a threat. It arrives with a belief system that makes your doubts feel like moral weakness. You don't refuse the order. You feel ashamed for even wanting to. She ran analyses showing the fund was dangerously close to insolvency. She brought them to him directly. She showed him exactly how bad it was getting. He told her to borrow more. She did. Their personal relationship fractured. They reconciled. Fractured again. Every reunion reset the emotional clock and reminded her what she had already given up to stay close to him. Every distance reinforced how much she still needed his approval just to feel steady. She was exhausted, isolated, covering for him every single day. Then one night in November, a single document appeared online. It was a balance sheet, just numbers, but those numbers told a story the world had never been allowed to see. Within 48 hours, billions of dollars were pulled from the exchange. The structure collapsed in real time. There was no stopping it. Ethan ran to the cameras he posted online. He gave rushed interviews. He said he was sorry. He said he didn't understand how this happened to him. But Claire had been in every meeting. She had every file, and she had kept records, careful, personal, precise records of what had actually been said, decided, and ordered. She was the first person from his inner circle to walk into a federal building and tell the truth. She handed over everything. She agreed to testify. Ethan's team moved fast. And then, in a move that stunned even the judge presiding over the case, someone connected to Ethan leaked her private diary entries to a major newspaper, her most personal thoughts, her fears, her grief repackaged publicly as evidence that she was the real problem all along. He was sent back to prison for it, but the damage had already landed. Claire walked into that courtroom anyway. She sat across the room from the man who had been her boss, her partner, and her ideological foundation for years. She answered every question. Her voice was steady. Ethan laughed. He shook his head. He scoffed at her answers from across the room. She kept talking. The jury convicted Ethan on all 7 counts. He was sentenced to 25 years in federal prison. Claire received 2 years, significantly reduced in recognition of her full cooperation with investigators. In her final statement to the court, she said he had corrupted her values. Slowly, deliberately. Over years, the judge agreed that she had been, in meaningful ways, under his psychological influence. She walked out. He did not. What Ethan used on Claire has a name: ideological coercion. It's when someone replaces your personal moral code with a belief system they control. Once that's in place, they don't need to force you to do anything. You'll do it yourself because the framework demands it. And when you hesitate, you don't feel manipulated. You feel like you're failing the mission. He also used what psychologists call a dual-role trap. When your employer and your romantic partner are the same person, you lose 2 layers of protection at once. Refusing a bad order becomes both a professional threat and an emotional rejection simultaneously. The cost of saying no grows too high. The diary leak was textbook: deny, attack, reverse victim, and offender. He was exposed, so he attacked the person exposing him and tried to make her the headline instead. Watch for 3 things in your own life. First, does someone use a belief system to explain why normal rules don't apply to them? Second, does one person control both your career and your emotional security at the same time? Third, when you try to hold someone accountable, do they immediately reframe themselves as the real victim? Those aren't coincidences, those are patterns. And patterns can be recognized before the damage is done. The most dangerous manipulators don't look like monsters. They look like visionaries with missions and philosophies and math that proves they're right. And they will use your values against you before you ever realize those values weren't really yours anymore. If you recognized any of these patterns in your own life, you're not alone. Subscribe. The manipulation tactics most people never see are the ones doing the most damage.